PaK 36 is an anti-tank gun designed by Rheinmetall in 1936 and used by the German Army during World War II. Along with the early wooden spoked-wheel type, it is also referred to as the PaK 35-36. The PaK 36 had a performance that was quite standard for anti-tank guns at the time of its development, and the 3.7 cm KWK 36, designed for tank guns, was used as the main gun of the early Model 3 tank. After World War I, the possession of heavy weapons was prohibited by the Treaty of Versailles, but development and testing were secretly conducted within the Soviet Union under the Rapallo Treaty. By the end of 1928, the deployment of the 3.7 cm TaK 28L/45 began, and an export-only version, the 37 mm TaK 29, was also produced and sold abroad. At that time, the official designation for anti-tank guns was not Panzerabwehrkanone, PaK, but Tankabwehrkanone, TaK. Before the rearmament declaration in Germany, the Red Army also adopted the M1930 1K as its equipment. The three types of 45 mm anti-tank guns designed by that country, the 19K, M1932, 53K, M1937, and M42, M1942, are also expanded variants of the 1K and can be said to be derived from the PaK 36. In the same year, during the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War, Germany equipped the Condor Legion, which was sent under the pretext of volunteer troops to support the rebel forces led by Francisco Franco, with this artillery as a practical evaluation test. It was used against T-26 light tanks, 10-ton class, and BT-5 fast tanks, 10-ton class, provided by the Soviet Union to the Popular Front Government Army, and was able to hit these targets from a distance of 700 to 800 meters. During the invasion of Poland in September 1939, they also faced the Polish Army's TKS light tanks and 7 TP light tanks, 10-ton class, but in the invasion of France in 1940, they began to encounter performance limitations early on. The French Army's Somme 35 cavalry tank, 20 tons, and the Renault B1 heavy tank, 30 tons, as well as the British Army's Matilda I/Matilda II infantry tanks, 30 tons, could only be countered if they were attacked from close range to the sides or rear. In particular, during the Battle of Arras, the British Army's Matilda II tank units could not be stopped, and there was a danger that they might break through the encirclement of the main forces of the Anglo-French armies, which had temporarily gathered near Belgium. The crisis was averted by destroying the Matilda II with horizontal fire from an 88 mm anti-aircraft gun, but this humiliation led to the PaK 36 earning the derogatory nickname Heereseinklopfgerät, Army's door knocker, and a joke arose that PaK stood for Panzereinklopfkanone, tank knock gun, instead of Panzerabwehrkanone, anti-tank gun. After the end of the French campaign, the German Wehrmacht began deploying larger caliber 5 cm PaK 38. After the production of the PaK 38 began, a new type of armor-piercing shell, PZGR-40 with a tungsten core, was developed and supplied for the PaK 36. However, during the 1941 Barbarossa operation, when the German army invaded the Soviet Union, they encountered the new T-34 medium tank, around 30 tons, and the KV-1 heavy tank, around 45 tons. As a result, it was found that even at very close range, it was difficult to penetrate these tanks with the PaK 36, regardless of how many hits struck from any direction. According to German records, besides trying to hit the small vulnerable spots like the rear side of the hull where it was vertical due to ground inclination, aiming for gun ports of the front-mounted machine guns or the periscope of the driver's hatch, there was no chance to incapacitate them. Additionally, tests conducted by the Soviet Army using captured PZGR-40 recorded that they could penetrate the lower sides of the T-34 hull, the flat area behind the tracks, within 400 m at a 0-degree impact angle, and the turret sides within 150 m. However, the deployment of the successor PaK 38 was insufficient, and the use of the PaK 36 continued in frontline anti-tank units until the deployment of the new type, 7.5 cm PaK 40, began in 1942. In 1943, the muzzle-mounted heat round, Steel Granate 41, was put into practical use, restoring armor-piercing effectiveness. However, while its effective range was said to be around 300 meters, due to initial velocity and accuracy issues, it was practically only about 100 meters, and moreover, it was difficult to hit moving targets. Additionally, because the shock fuse was mounted at the tip of the warhead, there was a risk that if the angle of impact was shallow, it would slip without detonating. Nevertheless, its lightweight nature, which allowed for repositioning without reliance on towing vehicles, made it popular among light infantry units, including the Air Force's paratroopers. Small trucks and large passenger cars such as KFZ.69 Krupp-Protze, 1-ton half-track, KFZ.12 Horch 901, and Kettenkrad were used for towing. Some were locally modified to mount towed artillery and converted into self-propelled guns. Additionally, self-propelled guns were also mounted as armaments on the squad leader vehicles of armored personnel carriers like SD-KFZ-250 and SD-KFZ-251, and other self-propelled guns were made on small armored vehicles like the captured Universal Carrier and Renault UE.